Hello everybody, I hope that all of you are ready and doing super well because the tag fighting game wars have officially begun. We have news for MARVEL Tōkon and 2XKO. We're going to talk about 2XKO on the second part of the video because MARVEL Tōkon is arguably one of my most expected fighting games, so I really want to get into a deep dive around the images from the latest PlayStation blog, because even though we know that the game is going to have a demo at EVO 2025 and also a developer panel, showcasing maybe gameplay and if we're lucky enough, an announcement for new characters, but the post has a ton of images inside the game as if you were playing it, and there's a lot of details that people are ignoring or not talking about at all, and I really want to go into a deep dive about why those images actually reveal a ton about the game that people are not really aware of. So we're gonna deep dive into that, into the Tokon images, and then move into the 2XKO news at the end. So let's talk about the first image, because even if you don't see it right away, there's a ton to speculate around it, specifically the roster size, because we can see the size of each character in the character select screen, and we can kind of calculate how you can basically use the full center space and how many slots would that be. And if you calculate it, by eye, you can kind of see that there is basically 5 slots from left to right, and then 8 slots from top to bottom. So it is around 40 characters in total to use the full middle space that is very obviously to put all the characters. And I don't think that the game is going to have 40 characters at launch. I don't think that they're going to use that full space, for the launch of the game. I think that maybe the game is going to have 40 characters after season 1 or 2. And it will be, a decent roster size if the game releases with like 28 to 32 characters. It will be really good. If it is smaller than that, it would kind of be a disappointment for me, since it is a 4v4 fighting game. But nowadays I can kind of see the game releasing with like 20 characters. I wouldn't be surprised about it at all. So we see a total of 40 slots. So maybe at the end of season 1 or 2, we're gonna have 40 characters, including the base roster and some DLC, because after a lot of seasons, fighting game developers tend to maybe change the UI a little in the character select screen to have more space for more characters. So let's just pray to the fighting game gods that those 40 slots that are looking to be the full roster size for the version of the UI that we have right now and we are seeing, it's basically going to be used mostly by launch characters and not mostly by DLC. Let's hope for that and get a decent roster size for the launch of MARVEL Tōkon. And now let's move into image 2. And if we take a look into the second image, there is also a ton to speculate around, but let's start with the assist system, because it seems like this image is giving us kind of like a sneak peek into how assists are going to work in this game. This is going to be a tag fighting game, and we already saw from the first trailer that it has assists in the game, like it's very obvious. But when you see this image, you see those words right next to the images of your characters that you already selected, and it says leader, shooter, vertical, or assault. And to me, what this is saying to us is that the assist system of this game is not going to have like variable assist depending on what you choose from your character, like from A to B to C assist like it was on Dragon Ball FighterZ, but characters are actually going to have a role in the assist list. So it seems like maybe we're going to have 3 buttons to call assist, and depending on the button and each character that is attached to that button, they're going to have maybe a Sony assist, which could be the shooter, a vertical DP or like M-tier, which would be the vertical assist, and an assault assist, which would probably be like an offensive sequence or like a frame trap assist, basically to put pressure on your opponent up close. So it is kind of obvious to me that the assist system in this game is going to have a role, attached to each button when you call the assist, depending on the character that is connected to that button. So basically, you're not going to choose the assist of your character before, you select them for your team. You're going to choose the assist of your character depending the role and button to which you assign them, from slots 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the leader, I don't really know what, but it's probably just going to be the playable character, and maybe the leader character is also going to give your team their HP bar, basically, because from what we see on other images also, the game has only 1 HP bar. So maybe there's going to be different like numbers of HP depending on the character that you're playing, and if you put, for example, Captain America as first slot as your leader, you're gonna have a little more HP than if you put Ms. Marvel, for example. So I don't know if that's going to exactly happen, but to me at least it is very obvious that this game is going to have a tag system that is going to be related to roles that are very obviously put in the screen, attached to the image of your character, and you're going to have to choose which assist your character is going to use depending the role in which you connect them to, and it's probably going to be attached to one button each. And then the second thing that we can speculate about with the character select is that we see Star-Lord without a mask. So maybe the game's gonna have like alternate costumes, because when we look at the first trailer, we see Star-Lord using his typical mask, you know, from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and whatever, but on the version of Arxis with their own style. But on the character select screen and also on the UI, we see Star-Lord without a mask. So is that going to be a detail only for Star-Lord in the UI because they want to show him without a mask in the character select screen? Or is that an alternate costume in which Star-Lord just doesn't use his mask, for example? So maybe we're gonna have some skins with the release of the game with a couple of alternate costumes for maybe all of the characters. Because we also see at the right of the UI a version of Star-Lord with a different color, you know? So there is a couple of, you know, sneak peeks there about maybe alternate costume and skins and also different colors for all characters. And now let's talk about the third image, because even though I already showed it, there is more to talk about it. And we see three types of bars in the screen. We have an HP bar, which is very obvious, probably the HP bar from your leader, which is something that I was speculating about earlier, but I'm not super sure if it's gonna work exactly like that. But it is very obvious that we only have one HP bar instead of an HP bar attached to each character in our team, which is something typical in tag fighting games, so that is something already different in this game. Then we also see two bars, one behind your HP bar and one in the bottom. The bar in the bottom is probably a bar for supers, right? Like for very impactful moves. If you have 150 of that bar, you're probably going to be able to do like a level 3 or a team super, you know, with 3 or 4 level 1s. That is kind of like what I would speculate around that, but the game's probably going to have like very flashy and cool supers that we already saw a little of them in the trailer, so we just have to wait and see to maybe see more, depending on the people that are going to play, you know, the game at EVO. But I'm confident that the bottom bar is basically a super bar and you're gonna use it to do, you know, big combos and damage. But the bar behind the HP one, I'm not super sure, because it could be like a guard break bar that maybe if you block too much, you get the guard broken, like it happens in Fatal Fury, for example. If you are basically overheated, then it could also be a bar related to your assists and how much of them you can use, because it has 3 blocks, just like the amount of assists that you can use in the game, right? Because you have 3 characters outside of your leader. So maybe the bar behind the HP bar, or sorry, at the bottom of the HP bar, is going to be like an assist count and how many times you can use it before it depletes and then it start charging up again and you have to play without assist. It could be any of those two. Those are kind of like the two things that I will relate that bar to. Either assist and how many times you can use them and then it gets depleted again, basically after you use all the assists and it start recharging, or also, you know, to guard break and basically see how much time you can block in the game before you get punished. So those are kind of like my ideas for the UI, and we can see of course some of the characters right, and in the right, as I said, we can see alternate colors because we see Dr. Doom with a white costume and we also see Star-Lord with a black jacket. So there is very clearly alternate colors for, you know, the original costumes of each character. So that is some info that we see in this specific image that kind of shows the full UI. Oh, and I almost forgot, even though it is very obvious, but in the screen it says counter. So maybe there's going to be a specific counter hit state after you hit someone when they whiff a button, or maybe you do a frame trap into them and they mash. So there's going to be some sort of counter hit state to get big combos probably in the game, similar to what happens in Guilty Gear Strive. And then we have the last image, which gives us more details about the way which stages are going to work in the game. And even though it says stage select at the top, if you look at the middle or middle bottom, basically it says select initial area. So this is kind of like a soft confirmation of wall breaks, because if you choose an initial area, it means that one stage has multiple areas, you know, as simple as that. So that means that when you wall break, you basically get into another new minimap. So each stage in this game is probably gonna have multiple areas and basically one wall break into the right and one into the left, probably at least. Now, I don't think that this is gonna happen with all the stages. I think that maybe some stages are gonna have wall breaks and all that, and other ones not, like it happens in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Dragon Ball FighterZ technically has a sort of like wall break that happens only in a couple of stages, and I don't remember exactly which ones, but I remember that it happens when you finish your combos with a specific button or maybe with a super. So maybe that's gonna happen in this game too. We're gonna have some stages that are gonna have multiple areas and wall breaks, and other ones that don't. So we have to wait and see for people to try the game and see what happens if they maybe can play with a different stage and not only the New York City one, because this one is gonna have wall breaks obviously. And if they can only play with this one, maybe someone is gonna ask the developers if there is stages without wall breaks. So we have to wait and see, but this is obviously a confirmation that all the stages, or maybe a couple of them, are gonna have wall breaks and multiple areas within them. So that's basically all the speculation and information that we can talk about with the images on the blog. I think that is very interesting, and it kind of gives us a sneak peek into a lot of details about MARVEL Tōkon and how it's gonna be. And now let's talk about 2xKO, because it also has a ton of exciting news. And for 2xKO, we got the trailer for Vi, you know, very famous character from Arcane and from League of Legends, and she seems very fun. She's like a mix of different types of boxers from the history of fighting games. Like you can see some TJ Combo in her, some Dudley, some Ed. Like there's a ton of different characters in her that I'm not even mentioning about, and she's like a mix, you know, of the genre and how boxers have been represented. She also has this like bionic arm super. It's very fun to see it, and she seems very fun to play. And the thing is, the developers have said openly that the game is going to launch in September with a closed beta that then they're going to basically leave up, and everyone is going to be able to play it over time on PC, and then it's going to move into console. So they're literally just going to open the closed beta and never close it out again. You know, it's like a fake closed beta. You just have to register and wait for them to give you a place, because, you know, in the first weeks, they're probably going to let a couple of people in and try the service out, see if everything goes well with the netcode and everything, and then open up to more people. That is probably how it's going to be, and that is how Valorant also happened, which is another Riot game that started the same way. Like they basically released the game with a beta, leave it open, and then did like the real release later. So we're basically going to be able to play the game. I'm excited for this game, even though I'm very like reluctant about Vanguard. I have talked about Vanguard in this channel and about how maybe I'm not going to play 2xKO because of Vanguard, but I'm maybe going to still give it a try if I have like a PC at that moment that is only for gaming, basically, that is not related to my work and everything. But if I have only one PC and I use it for work, I'm probably not going to use Vanguard, because it has given me problems in the past with my computer, and I don't want to have. They actually also talk about a lot of gameplay changes in a short that they posted on their YouTube channel. I don't know why they posted this information as a short. I think that it is an awful idea. They should have made like a video, like a real video on it. But they talk about, you know, some changes with all the people's feedback from the betas, and basically that they nerfed like some defensive options, that they made also some changes about offense and how pushback works. Like there's a ton of changes into the game. If you want to see them, like I would recommend you to go to the YouTube channel from the 2xKO YouTube channel and go to shorts and see the last one posted, because it is very awkward for me to put that short in this video. It's kind of weird. I'm maybe gonna put a link into the short in a pinned comment, but I would recommend you to see it if you are like super invested into the game and you want to see the last like gameplay state of it, because that short actually has a ton of information about the future and how the gameplay is gonna be probably at the launch of this closed beta on September. So yeah, a lot of exciting news for Tokon and for 2xKO. Tokon is looking great, super interesting as a game. Like it's actually refreshing and very different from everything else, so I love that. I love that Arxis is actually taking risk with their new game. I think that is great, and 2xKO also looking super exciting. The only thing that I don't like about 2xKO is Vanguard, because of that, you know, 24/7 open anti-cheat in your computer and whatever. I have talked about it, and I think that it is kind of a problem. I don't agree with how the anti-cheat works, but that is a theme for a different video that I have already talked in the past. If you want, you can look up that video on my channel. Just look, you know, Riot Vanguard on my channel, you're gonna find it. And also the other thing is that the roster for 2xKO is going to be very small. I also don't like that, but I know that it is a live service game that is probably going to launch, you know, a couple of champions every like couple of months, so I'm not that stressed about it. I hope that I can try the game and that Vanguard is not going to give me any problem if I have an exclusive PC for gaming. I don't know if it's going to happen, but well, in the future I'm going to know if I can give the game a try. If not, I'm of course going to play MARVEL Tōkon. It is one of my most expected fighting games, and you're going to see a lot of content for MARVEL Tōkon in this channel in the future and in the upcoming news from EVO. So, see you in the next video, guys. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you think of all these updates from MARVEL Tōkon and 2xKO, and have a nice week.